Hello, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. In this video, we're on to the fourth F from Howard Schubiner's 6 F's that can fuel our chronic symptoms. And in this video, we're talking about fighting it. So, where's the problem in fighting with persistent symptoms? Because often what we're told to do is, in the past, we've been told, oh, well, you just have to push on through, you just have to fight with it and, get on with it and not lie down to things. That's it, you just have to push on through. I suppose that's a similar phrase to kind of fighting with it is pushing on through. So what is the problem with that? Why is that an issue? Well, if you imagine if you're fighting with something, if something becomes a battle, and there is a phrase that's used sometimes is what you resist persists. So whatever you're fighting with tends to come back and meet you with what you kind of do to it. So if you're really putting up a battle, then the other side's going to increase their input as well, isn't it? So imagine if you're having a kind of tug of war, if you're pulling, the other person pulls back, and you end up with this kind of coming and going, and the more you pull, the more they pull to try and counteract your pull. So it can become a bit like that. It's that kind of whole, battle is going on there. And the difficulty with that is, again, your brain will then perceive that fight, that need to battle, that there's something to fight against. And if it thinks there's something to fight against, then it means it's something that's posing a threat to you. There's something there's a threat or a danger to your well-being. And it's therefore likely to increase the symptoms again, because as we've talked about before, anything that the brain perceives as being dangerous is a threat. It has to keep you safe. And how can it do that? Well, by giving you some physical symptoms that you can't ignore. It's going to keep you safe, bring you in, and keep you away from the whatever it is that you're trying not to, it doesn't want you to deal with. So fighting against the pain shows the brain that there's something to fight against. It shows that there's something there is something to be threatened by. There is something that's dangerous. Otherwise, why would you be fighting it? If it didn't matter, if it wasn't of any interest to you, it wasn't a threat, you wouldn't be fighting it, would you? You'd just be like, no, I'm not interested, not interested in that. Because you get into that whole battle with it, there must be something there to fight. Otherwise, why would you be getting in a state about it? So the fighting actually, again, is a fuel to the symptoms. And you can think of examples of how fighting with things doesn't necessarily work. An example I used, and I've heard me use it before, and I like to use lots of scenarios, is you think with a toddler. If a young child or a toddler is having a bit of a tantrum, so they might start off just, if you're outside with them and you're having a coffee, and maybe the mum's chatting with her friend, and the child's sitting there and it's getting a bit fed up and it starts to bang on the table, and then gets a bit more rowdy because it's not getting the attention it wants. If the mother then turns up, oh, for goodness sake, what are you doing? Give me that spoon or whatever it is, and tries to grab it off the child, and the child's going to pull back, and then the mother pulls and shouts, and the child screams and pulls, and you get into that kind of battle over there. All that's doing is escalating the whole situation. It's not resolving anything. The child, now thinks, oh my goodness, it must be a big deal here because mum's going Donto and trying to deal with my spoon and everything's going out of hand. So that's when you're fighting what's going on. You're fighting with the child. Stop making that noise. Yank it off them. That's going to escalate things. Whereas if you were just like, well, are you banging your spoon? Can I have that spoon, please? I don't want to make that noise. Let me have that spoon. And it's just the spoon's really not that interesting. We're not making a big thing about it. The child doesn't really care whether you take the spoon or not, because you've not made a big fuss about it. Or you maybe traded the spoon for something else that looks more interesting. So again, there's not a big deal around about the spoon. But if you're going to grab that spoon off the child, it's going to pull it back, and you get into that whole battle, because you've then effectively saying, well, the spoon's very high value, isn't it? The spoon's obviously something that we need to be worried about, something I need to care about. So I'm going to hang on to that spoon, and I'm going to bang it even more off the table. So if we take away the value of the thing by not reacting to it, by not fighting against it, then the brain's going to think, well, actually, the spoon's not that interesting. Or in the more in other case is the symptoms aren't that interesting. There's not really worth, there's clearly no threat there because you're not fighting it. But if you're fighting it, there must be something to fight. The brain perceives there must be something to fight. There is a threat there, and it's right to give you these symptoms because it has to keep you safe. So fighting is never going to win. It's the same a bit, I suppose, other things often we're told to do, you push on through the pain. And that's a kind of a sort of way of fighting, I suppose, as well. You know, my knee is really, really painful. But I'm just going to keep on running. It's getting sore and sore. I'm noticing how sore it is, and I'm going to fight that pain. I'm not going to stop that pain. I'm going to keep going through that pain, and I'll show that pain that even when it's there, and even though it's so sore, I'm going to defeat it. And so your brain's like, oh my goodness, this pain in the knee is something really interesting. I must really protect her from this because clearly this pain in the knee is a big deal, and I'm absolutely right to think it's a threat to her well-being. So I better ramp up that pain because she's clearly not getting the message enough here that how dangerous this is. So you're fighting against it. So I say fighting, I've explained that very well, but fighting is fuel to the fire. Again, fighting is perceived. It shows to the brain that it's right, that there is a threat there. It shows that there is something it has to keep you safe from. There's some sort of threat or danger there in the symptoms, and therefore it's likely to up the symptoms even further. Okay, so that was our fourth one. That was fighting. Okay, so I'll leave you at that for now, and I'll see you again soon.